There's a big myth about public speaking anxiety. And if you have high speaking anxiety, this myth can keep you stuck and keep you from improving. So let's jump in and talk about what the myth is, why it can hold you back, and most importantly, what steps you can take to get on the right track. We're also going to talk about the 5 key success factors, what you must have if you want to overcome high public speaking anxiety. So stick around for that. Now, as a public speaking anxiety coach, I see this myth all the time. And the myth is, no matter how severe your public speaking anxiety, the best thing you can do is go to Toastmasters. Now, don't get me wrong, Toastmasters is a great program and it's helped hundreds of thousands of people. And I've been a member of Toastmasters and have learned a lot from it. But it's not typically the right solution for people with high to severe speaking anxiety. When you have high anxiety, you typically have had a traumatic experience speaking, one that was embarrassing, humiliating, and painful. That bad experience or experiences keep you stuck. And no matter what you try, your body takes control and gives you an intense and uncontrollable fear response. You get intense symptoms like breathlessness, sweating, trembling, blushing, and other symptoms, and it makes it very difficult to speak. That sucks you into an anxiety spiral, and you then avoid speaking, and the anxiety gets worse and morphs into a phobia. It's confusing, and you feel helpless and completely out of control. It's a complex trap, and it's difficult to think your way out of it without some help. To overcome a phobia, you need a specialized program that includes gradual desensitization exercises in a controlled environment. Think about if you have a phobia of dogs. You need a controlled environment to start exposing to dogs. You want that dog to be behind a fence so you can gradually approach and learn that not all dogs are dangerous. And when you have a phobia, you need new tools and techniques so that you can go into speaking situations differently and get different results. That's not what Toastmasters is. It's not a super controlled environment, and it doesn't teach you specific anxiety management techniques to approach these scary situations in an effective way. So if you have high to severe anxiety, I'm going to suggest other programs designed just for that. It's interesting, I just saw this in a forum the other day. A professor posted, I have a student who has what they say is a severe fear of public speaking. And the professor goes on to explain that the one time I made everyone talk in class, this person was near tears, breathing heavily, shaking, and could barely get through it. And someone in the forum responded, if you want to get the student some help, push them towards Toastmasters. Under normal circumstances, that's great advice, but not for someone with severe speaking anxiety. Now, if you don't have high to severe speaking anxiety, I heartily recommend Toastmasters. You'll meet wonderful people. They have a good curriculum with lessons and exercises for improving your communication skills. I did their Speechcraft program and found it really helpful. The other advantage of Toastmasters is that some clubs offer in-person meetings. After the pandemic, a lot of people were nervous to go back to the office and face in-person meetings. So Toastmasters clubs that provide in-person practice are really helpful with that transition. I always recommend Toastmasters for that situation, or if you're preparing to speak at an in-person conference. The key point to remember is that the right course of action for you depends how severe your anxiety is, low, medium, or high. If your anxiety is high to severe, don't go to Toastmasters. If you have moderate anxiety, go to Toastmasters or any basic practice group. That's a great idea. Why is Toastmasters not a good idea for individuals with high anxiety? It's like throwing a person who can't swim in the deep end of the pool. Or it's like throwing a person with a phobia of spiders in a room full of big venomous spiders. It's terrifying and overwhelming. It can re-traumatize the person and make their anxiety go up instead of down. Bad experiences discourage people from working on their anxiety. They get demoralized. Basically, people with high anxiety need to start in the shallow end of the pool and learn skills and confidence where it's safe, where they'll be able to gradually work up to the deep end of the pool. Toastmasters is not a gradual desensitization program. Everyone with high speaking anxiety that I've talked to says Toastmasters is absolutely overwhelming and they need medium steps, some pre-Toastmasters steps. Here's a great example. Kevin, who was in the desensitization laboratory or lab program, says this about Toastmasters.
On Reddit, there's like a public speaking subreddit I'm sure you
Yeah,
know about.
yeah.
And people are like, what can I do to practice? And people always say Toastmasters, and they're like, but that sounds so scary to me. Like that was also my problem. Like where I was at and where Toastmasters was so far of a gap. And I didn't know about all these little things that you could do in between.
Yeah.
Like for example, the lab is definitely something that's in between because you're in a safe
Yes.
space. You're
Yes.
with other people that are having the same problem as you. Once I was able to find exposures that were at the right level for me, it became pretty smooth of a journey, like
Mm-hmm.
a
Mm-hmm.
smooth increase in like level. Before that, my main problem was really like finding the right exposures.
Now, it's true that people with high to severe public speaking anxiety need to face their fears, but they need appropriate in between steps. That's not what Toastmasters is. The fact is, people with high to severe public speaking anxiety have a phobia and may also have panic attacks. For them, speaking is traumatic, terrifying, and painful. When you have severe speaking anxiety, the bodily symptoms are intense. For example, the breathlessness can be so intense that you literally can't speak and you freeze in front of the room. It's humiliating and confusing. These individuals feel a lot of shame and incompetence, like something is deeply wrong with them. But what really happened is that their nervous system has played a trick on them. And it's hard for people to figure out what's happening to them. So chances are, if you're watching this video, you have high anxiety. So what can you do? What are the alternatives? I recommend going to programs specifically designed for high to severe anxiety. Use these programs as stepping stones to work up to Toastmasters. Once you reduce your anxiety to the low to medium ranges, then go to Toastmasters, but not when your anxiety is in the high ranges. Check out the description below where I included names of some programs designed for high speaking anxiety. And if you're not sure about your anxiety level, check out the test link in the description. Take the test and get your score. Find out if your anxiety is low, medium, or high. The test results will give you recommendations and options based on your anxiety level. So if you have high speaking anxiety, there are 5 things you need to succeed. So look for programs that have these 5 things. 1, you need a safe, controlled environment where you have the opportunity to take gradual baby steps, where you can do gradual desensitization at your own pace, tailored to your needs. You won't get this in Toastmasters. 2, you need a safe support group of like-minded people who share your fear. It's ideal if you can get into a group that's part support group and part practice group, where you can practice together doing very manageable exercises and openly talk about your anxiety. There's lots of shame with public speaking anxiety. I know, I've been there. You feel defective, like something's wrong with you. It's confusing why these intense and uncontrollable bodily symptoms are happening to you. On the other hand, it's healing to share these experiences in a safe, supportive group of people who understand this confusing experience. The fact is, Toastmasters is not a support group for high speaking anxiety, so you just won't get the support you need in the same way. 3, you need to learn new tools and techniques and a new mindset. And then you need a safe group where you can experiment with and practice these new techniques. You won't get that in Toastmasters. 4, you need 3 to 5 exposures every week. You won't get enough exposures in Toastmasters. Usually you're lucky if you get 1 a week. That's not enough to overcome high anxiety. Research tells us that you're going to need about 3 to 5 a week to make good progress. Now, don't worry, 3 to 5 exposures sounds like a lot, but some of the exposures can be 5 minutes in front of your video camera. They don't all need to be in a group. That makes the time commitment more realistic. But you're going to make the most progress if you get several exposures in a group every week. And finally, the exposures need to be manageable and not overwhelming. When you go to Toastmasters, you're going to be expected to introduce yourself, and they may encourage you to do a short impromptu talk at your first meeting. Now, you can choose not to do the impromptu exercise, but you're pretty much expected to introduce yourself. In contrast, in programs that are designed for high anxiety, where introductions are super scary and can cause panic attacks, the facilitator and everyone in the group understands that you might start by saying one word or as little or as much as you can and work up to saying more. And working up usually happens pretty quickly. We see pretty quick progress with this approach. In a group designed for gradual desensitization, you're never thrown in the deep end of the pool. People with high anxiety who go to Toastmasters feel like it's overwhelming and they're being thrown in the deep end of the pool. So to get over high speaking anxiety, you need new tools and gradual desensitization. And Toastmasters is just not designed for that. So one of the biggest myths is that no matter what level of public speaking anxiety you have, just go to Toastmasters. When that's the only option presented to people with high speaking anxiety, they're left with no real solutions. It's like telling someone who doesn't swim that they should just jump in the deep end of the pool and figure it out. It's not giving them a realistic solution that they're going to do because they can't. It's too overwhelming. So give them something they can do, some medium steps that they can take to face their fears. Give them a link to the public speaking anxiety test in the description below and to the links to some of the programs designed for them.